Hi, I'm Preetika Rao. I'm a model and actor from Mumbai, India. And today I'm going to be interviewing none other than a very brilliant astrologer, Maneeza Ahuja, who has her channel on YouTube. And she has learned astrology for 17 years under the grace and guidance of Shri PM Rao sir. And he needs no introduction in the field of astrology. She's also been a former senior VP, Percept India, and Associate VP, HT Media. Hi Maneeza ji, it's my honor and pleasure to have you on my show.
Thank you.
And I'm very, very excited to know our Prime Minister's horoscope from your perspective, because of course we all know you have the background of Shri PM Rao and he has done so much research on all our Prime Ministers in the past. So of course there is a lot of authentic data that we can look forward for. काफी चर्चा होती है, कुछ लोग बोलते हैं कि this is not PM Modi's chart, his chart is a Libra Lagna. So I want to know from you, what is the Lagna exactly? Is it Scorpio or is it Libra?
Thank you, Preetika, for inviting me on your channel. And I'm honored that I'm here to speak on Prime Minister Modi's chart. And of course, a privilege to be on your show.
Thank you, my pleasure.
A lot of people are taking Libra Lagna as the ascendant, rising ascendant for PM Modi. But I would say that if we take Libra as the ascendant, then if you chart historically, his childhood, if you look at Libra Lagna, you cannot see poverty, you cannot see hardship, and you cannot see struggle from a Libra Lagna. That's point number one. And we've all heard the story of how, he even, I would say, served chai when he was a little child and the struggles that he, went through when he grew up. So those are very clear from a Scorpio Lagna chart. Second, his marital status and the maleficence on the 1-7 axis is clearer from the Scorpio Lagna chart. I would definitely take that. So here are the details that I have taken and I'm going to share the chart with you.
Sure.
17th September 1950, 12:09, Mehsana, Ahmedabad. And it's a Scorpio Lagna chart that I have taken. A Vargotam Navansh in D9, so Scorpio again. And Dhanu as the Lagna for D10. This is clearly the chart, the Scorpio Lagna chart that has been taken by me. And I've given you the two most important reasons of taking Scorpio as the ascendant for this chart. Now, if I were to discuss this chart. So in the Scorpio Lagna chart, there's a striking combination of Mars and Moon in Lagna. There is retrograde Jupiter in the 4th house as the 5th lord.
Mm-hmm.
And what is a very powerful yoga is a Gemini yoga as well, which is that of Atmakarak Saturn and Amatyakarak Venus in the 10th house. Here the 10th lord, for a Scorpio Lagna, the 10th lord is Surya, Sun. Sun here is conjunct in the 11th house of elevation with the 11th lord, retrograde Mercury, but both are in Rahu Ketu axis, affecting the 5th house's Karakattvas, and we know that he doesn't have children. And of course, retrograde Jupiter as the lord of the 5th house has the aspect of both Saturn and Mars. So the Karakattvas of 5th are troubled, and that is another point why I'm taking a Scorpio Lagna for this chart. Now, I've mentioned that the 10th lord is conjunct with the 11th lord, retrograde Mercury. Here, the Lagna lord Mars is conjunct with the 9th lord of Bhagya, Chandrama. Of course, Chandrama is debilitated. One can see that. And Chandrama is also in the nakshatra of Anuradha, which is Saturn's nakshatra.
Okay.
It is definitely very close to a Sanyaas yoga, but not fully a Sanyaas yoga. Whenever Saturn is in the Rashi of Mars, has the aspect of Saturn, and one can see that in D1 and D9, then it leads to detachment, it leads to a spiritual pursuit. Now, there is, one can see that there is there is trouble. But this is not the case of an absolute sannyas. But whenever one has read, about Prime Minister Modi, one has seen, that at one point in time, he did leave it all and, he'd gone further up the mountains. But it is said that a sadhu told him that there was a lot that he had to do back there in the world. So the idea of taking complete sannyas was not for him. It is said that he was actually guided to not take sannyas. Now, a very interesting combination is that of Mars and Moon, as I said, Lagna Lord and Ninth Lord. Both are in Sarpadresh Kona. A debilitated Ninth Lord in Sarpadresh Kona, so one knows that the father did not have a long life, the mother did. That is very clear. From Moon, which is the Ninth Lord, in square is Saturn and Moon is conjunct with Mars. That is troublesome for the father's longevity, and that is clear. Both Moon and Mars being in Sarpadresh Kona will definitely move this native, this person, towards yogic activities. I'm using the word activities, but the realm is pretty serious. But otherwise, there will be a sense of bandhan, if I may use, for both these planets to be in Sarpadresh Kona. They can really trouble him. Jupiter, retrograde Jupiter, which is in the 4th house, is in Pashadresh Kona. That too is a bit of they are in quadrant to each other. Both the Trikona lords, this is a very important point. Both Chandrama and Brihaspati, which are Trikona lords for a Scorpio Lagna, are in quadrant to each other. It is also giving a lot of power to this chart because both of them squared each other. Now, in many horoscopes, important Trikonas square themselves. But here, they have squared themselves in Kendras. That's important. And the other two Kendra lords. Saturn is also a Kendra lord here. It's the 4th lord. Venus, the 7th lord, is also the lord of Padaprapti. Both of them have conjunct and gone to the 10th. Venus as a 7th lord is also Vargottama. Venus is in the nakshatra of the 10th lord, which is Uttar Falguni nakshatra. And Surya, retrograde Mercury, which are in the 11th, 10th, in the 11th with the 11th lord, are again in the nakshatra of the 10th lord, Uttar Falguni. This is a very powerful yoga. If you look at it historically, then PM Modi has been CM of Gujarat. So from 2001, when he became the CM of Gujarat, he ran the dasha of Venus Mercury. And in 14, in Venus Mercury. So if you look at Venus Mercury, Mercury is the 11th lord here, and Venus I've already explained in the nakshatra of the 10th lord, Vargottama, with the aspect of the Kendras and this conjunction of Atmakarak and Amatyakarak. So Venus Mercury is when he first became the chief minister of Gujarat. And then came the dasha of Surya, while he continued to be the chief minister, because from 2001 to 2014, he remained the chief minister of Gujarat. So Surya also repeatedly gave him this position where he won again and became the chief minister. Now in 2014, he ran the dasha of Moon, Jupiter, and again Mercury, the Pratyantar dasha of Mercury. Moon and Jupiter I have already explained, but here I will also tell you something. A very interesting principle of mundane astrology. Jupiter in Taurus. When Jupiter comes in Taurus, in the horoscope of independent India, it has come into the Lagna and conjuncts itself with Rahu in Lagna. When Jawaharlal Nehru went away, Jupiter was in Taurus. In 1977, when there was a revolution through ballot and Indira Gandhi lost her position, Jupiter was in Taurus. In 2014, when after Congress and a new wave emerged and Modi ji became Prime Minister, Jupiter had just moved out of Taurus. So there is a revolutionary link to Jupiter in Taurus in the horoscope of India. Even in 1989, when VP Singh had won and Congress was sitting in opposition, Jupiter was in Taurus. 2014, when the mood of the nation changed and there was a revolution again through ballot, Jupiter was in Taurus. Jupiter had just moved out of Taurus. So that is a very interesting point that comes in this cycle with respect to the horoscope of India, Jupiter in Taurus. So that was an interesting point I thought I'd share here with you. So 2014, it was Moon, Jupiter, Mercury. I've mentioned that. In 2019, when he became the PM, he ran Moon, Venus and Rahu. Moon, Venus and Rahu are very, very clear. At that point in time, Rahu was transiting over the 9th house in Cancer. And that too was a very powerful transit. So if you see, in the dasha of Chandrama, he became Prime Minister twice. Why? Because in the dasha of Chandrama, which is placed in the Lagna, all the Raj Yogas came alive. This entire combination of Atmakarak, Amatyakarak, 10th and 11th, conjunct with the 11th, everything which was natally a promise became beautifully activated when he ran the dasha of Chandrama, placed in Lagna as the 9th Lord, conjunct with the Lagna Lord. That in itself is Raj Yoga.
Okay.
And after the end of the dasha of Moon, what has started now is the dasha of Mars. From April end 2023, PM Modi runs the dasha of Mars Saturn. He starts running the dasha of Mars Saturn, which will continue till June beginning 2024. So which means elections will happen when this dasha is in play. Now this is a slightly tricky and critical period for him, because these are malefics in Kendras. I will share a principle that normally, is not much accessible, or information, astrological principle that is not much accessible to people. Saturn in Jupiter's nakshatra. When Prime Minister Modi first became PM, Saturn was transiting in Jupiter's nakshatra Vishakha, and Saturn was in Tula. That was a decisive moment for him. An absolute change, an absolutely decisive moment where life changed from Chief Minister, when nobody had, probably people thought that, it was L.K. Advani, but I wouldn't say that he annihilated competition, but he just rose as the man who everybody wanted, for him to be in this position of power. In 2024, in April end, Saturn is again transiting Jupiter's nakshatra, Purva Bhadrapad, because Saturn is going to be in Aquarius, and the last 10 degrees of Aquarius are going to be Purva Bhadrapad nakshatra of Jupiter, and 3 degrees 20 minutes will move into Pisces. So these 10 degrees of Purva Bhadrapad in Aquarius are going to be very, very critical for PM Modi, which means that there will be a tumultuous situation that will come up in the country. But the point is that the dasha he runs, he will again be PM. So that is something that I'm predicting on your channel, that in 2024, we again see PM Modi victorious and becoming Prime Minister once again, but it's not easy. It's tumultuous because the period is tumultuous when we see Mars, Saturn. And here's a hint, I'm not saying it fully. When Saturn transits through the nakshatra of Jupiter, which is happening just before the elections in 2024, that will be a very decisive point for him. But he is victorious. He will be PM once more. Yeah.
Wow.
This is an analysis of his chart that I wanted to share.
So a lot of accusation, Modi has to go through a lot of accusation. I think he centers hate and love equally, right from the beginning. I also want to know one thing from you, that does he have any, people say that he used to be a renunciant and, he was a sadhu. Does he have any Mahapurush yogas or any sadhu yogas in his chart that indicate that?
See, there is definitely more than a shade. And I would say a lot of shades of a renunciate, but it is not the chart of a full renunciate. But there definitely are shades of a renunciate. A lot of people think that they have a spiritual streak while they don't, but this is like a genuine spiritual streak. Mars and Moon lead to detachment. Moon in the nakshatra of Saturn as the 9th Lord will lead to detachment. There are no two ways about it. And both of them being in the Sarpadreshkon. Remember, Sarpadreshkon, planets in Sarpadreshkon are not good for a worldly life. But every time you look at, and this is a term which has often been, so often been used that it has lost its real, its real true meaning. Kundalini Jagran happens as well in planets, when important planets transit over natal planets in the Sarpadreshkon. Or that's a very, these are points that I normally don't discuss. But yes, so never overlook planets in Sarpadreshkon. And here it's the ninth lord with the Lagna lord in Sarpadreshkon. So it's, there is a lot of merit, there is a lot of truth in him having shades of a renunciate. There is no doubt about it.
Okay. So one more point I want to ask you about is that Saade Saati, the 7-year period of Saturn, is always feared, and people think that they will be punished and tortured and suffer ill fate. But here is a man who became the Prime Minister of our country while he was going through Saade Saati, the 7-year period of Saturn. How did it pan out in his chart, and why did that make him the PM? Because of course we know that Saturn is responsible for politics, and so is Sun. So how did it pan out in his case?
See, a lot of people rise and attain very powerful positions in their Saade Saati. Indira Gandhi was one of them. Lal Bahadur Shastri was one of them. So these are not things to be worried about. Why? Because when Saade Saati happens, then suddenly so much of pressure on work comes onto your shoulders that too is looked at as something that can really burden you. But it is a positive burden. Now, if you become the Chief Minister or the Prime Minister, then a lot of work will come your way and suddenly you will be burdened with a lot of stuff. But isn't that a positive thing?
Right.
So that's one way of saying Saade Saati cannot be bad. And when Prime Minister Modi started his Saade Saati, and I've said this, Saturn was transiting the nakshatra of Jupiter and Vishakha is in Tula. And Tula is one sign before Scorpio. When Saturn was in Tula or Libra, he started his Saade Saati. But for a Scorpio moon, Tula is also the exaltation sign of Saturn. So that cannot really be looked at as a bad Saade Saati. But believe me, when Saturn would have crossed Scorpio, it did give him a lot of grief, and that cannot be denied. Saturn over Scorpio did give him a lot of pressure, but that cannot be denied. But as I said, that there are examples of other prime ministers who gained office in Saade Saati, because that gives you extreme responsibility, which also looks like it's almost like a burden. So that too. But yes, Saturn as the planet in the 10th house, posited in the 10th house, as the Kendra Lord, as the 4th Lord exalted. The 4th Lord is giving you the throne, the position. It's the Simhasan. So the exaltation of the 4th Lord in Tula, because Saturn exalts in Tula, that in itself is a very powerful yoga. It's the 4th, the Kendra, getting exalted. So can't just look at Saade Saati as common for everybody. That's one. And in this case, I've just explained to you how it benefited him.
So the conclusion is that when you have Saade Saati, don't panic, and Mangal pe jaake, Shani को अर्पण करना या दान करना, मतलब जो हनुमान जी को जाके तेल चढ़ाते हैं, don't do that, because I think that sometimes remedies can backfire, especially if Saturn is supposed to be positive for you, and if you go and do something like that, like a remedy for Saturn, I don't think that'll be a great idea. Am I right about it?
I would say that remedies are important, and these are spiritual remedies. These are not, when you unthinkingly just do a remedy because you're scared of a certain, disaster befalling. That is not the right way. So one way of looking at it is that you're deep into bhakti, and then you don't bother what is coming your way or not coming your way. You accept it, you surrender to the divine will. Then you might not be doing a specific remedy for Saturn, but you're doing your own worship. Now that worship could be a certain mantra, and now you just leave everything to that mantra and to that connection that you have with the divine, and you don't do any other specific remedy. That I understand, because वो कहते हैं ना, एक को साध लिया तो सब सध जाते हैं. So there, if there is absolute surrender to the divine will and you're willing to suffer your prarabdha karma, that is a stage of, a higher consciousness where you just let it be. But for the regular people, grihastha, who are wanting something, who want this, who don't want to, then upaya is good. Then I would not say don't do upaya for Shani. Definitely do upaya for Shani. A very good upaya for Shani is worshipping Lord Hanuman. Because everybody knows that when Lord Hanuman, Maruti goes to Lanka, then, Ravan's sort of, put Shanidev upside down under his throne. And he releases Shanidev from that bondage. And Shanidev blesses Lord Hanuman and says, anybody who worships you, Maruti, जो तुम्हें पूजेगा, तुम्हें प्रणाम करेगा, उसे मेरे शाप से मुक्ति होगी. तो ये बात बहुत हद तक सही है. आप मंगल और शनिवार को, Tuesdays and Saturdays, if you worship Lord Hanuman, in fact, Rokadiya Hanuman Baba in Gujarat had told this to K.N. Rao sir in person. उन्होंने राव सर को ये बात बोली थी कि 7 बार हनुमान चालीसा का पाठ एक साथ consecutively, sitting on an asan facing the east, दिया जला के, सूखे चने का भोग रख के. ये रोकड़िया बाबा ने राव सर को ये बात बताई थी. इस उपाय से मंगल शनि दोनों ही शांत हो जाते हैं. This is definitely a spiritual remedy because you are reciting the Chalisa written by Tulsi Das ji and worshipping Lord Hanuman. So this is a very good remedy. And you could even be reading the Neel Shani Stotram, which is mentioned in the Padma Puran. इसे महाराजा दशरथ ने लिखा है. It is said that when Saturn moved into Rohini Nakshatra, so the ministers in Lord Dasharat's, King Dasharat's court told him that this can cause famine, this can cause trouble for 12 years. ये शकट भेदन हो रहा है. तो King Dasharath is supposed to go, he went to the Nakshatra Lok and recited the Neel Shani Stotram. And Saturn, Lord Saturn is supposed to have, he blessed him and said, you have the boon, your praja, your kingdom, the people in your kingdom will not suffer my prakopa. So the Neel Shani Stotram is mentioned as a dialogue in the Padma Puran and Mahadev is reciting this to Narad. So therefore, reciting the Neel Shani Stotram is a powerful, powerful remedy.
My father swears by it, like since over the years, he's been listening to it.
Oh, okay, that's very nice. I want to say this one thing, that a lot of times people, and I've said, of course, whatever chair, whatever position that you're at, you should always be able to do justice to people. When people come to you and ask for justice, you better do justice, because you're also going to someone and asking for justice, and they can also put your file away and say, I'll come after 2 years. If you don't expect that to happen to you, then you should immediately, whatever work comes onto your table, at least do that work. If you sort of postpone, then remember you're also going to someone with a file and saying, please do sign on it. Then someone can really, divinity too can delay your work. That too can happen.
Yeah.
But always be humble, humility. Never trouble people. Never trouble people. Never be arrogant. A lot of people have a lot of, arrogance. It's not a good thing. That in itself is a Saturnine upaya. Humility. Truth and humility is an upaya. It's the remedy of remedies, as I say.
Nice.
So I'm saying lighting diyas, we offer mustard oil to Shanidev. We offer sabut urad dal as well. These are definite remedies. You cannot sort of say that this doesn't work. It does work. But as I said, if you do every remedy, but you lie, you are arrogant, you don't help people, you have your own airs about you. So be in touch with reality, be grounded. That's a very big remedy.
Absolutely. So coming back to our PM's chart once again, April 23 sometime, he's going to go through the Mahadasha of Mars with the Antardasha of Saturn. So what's that going to bring in for Modi ji?
So, yes, that's an interesting question. Mars-Saturn starts from the end of April 2023 and goes on till the beginning of June 2024. Now, both of these are malefic planets and both of them are in Kendras in Modi ji's chart. Mars in Lagna and Saturn. Of course, it's a powerful Saturn. Note that transiting Saturn in this dasha will square Mars and transit in the 4th house in Aquarius in Modi ji's chart. So while he runs Mars Saturn, Saturn will be in Aquarius. Saturn moved into Aquarius on the 17th of January 2023 and stays in Aquarius till the end of March 2025. So during this period, Saturn, as per Modi ji's chart, will be in the 4th house over the 5th and the 2nd Lord, retrograde Jupiter. This is not a great combination and it definitely shows trouble. Now, there is a very interesting principle that I will share here. Whenever you look at the chart of a statesman, of a leader, of a person leading a country, then usually when we look at the 7th house, you look at it for a spouse. But when you look at a leader's 7th house, the chart of a prime minister, and when you see that the 7th house is troubled there in the dasha, in the transit, because in this particular transit, both natal Mars and Saturn are looking at the 7th. Then 7th is the house of war. So which means that in this dasha of Modi ji's, border troubles are definitely there. You cannot deny them. Because China is going to go through a severe bout of corona and Pakistan's economy is any which ways very poor. It's almost on the stage of bankruptcy. To divert public attention, both will be active on our borders. So that can be seen from Modi ji's chart. Plus, it is not just border skirmishes that one sees. It would also mean that some other problems will cause this government to firefight, which could mean a natural calamity troubling us where the government will have to fight, an epidemic coming up where the government will have to firefight. That can be seen from this Mars Saturn dasha. It also shows communal tension, but that can be seen more from the Indian horoscope. But those are things so these are difficult times that are coming up.
What about the Pakistan and China, the war, the split? It's like being predicted since many years, like 3-4 years, but it's not really happened. Do you really see that happening?
In this decade, and especially from December 2023 onwards, when Pakistan runs the dasha, there are certain dashas that are coming up which are going to cause loss of land again. So be rest assured that POK is going to come to us and it's come to India. And it's not just going to be POK. Pakistan, the combinations are such that yet again it will be loss of land, not just once, twice, thrice. So that's a very big prediction. So it has gone through loss of land when Bangladesh was formed. It will go through loss of land when POK will be given to India. Then ethnic groups, Balochistan, etc. I mean, the combinations that are coming up, specifically from December 2023, are such that there will again be division of land as per the chart of Pakistan. That can be clearly seen. And here I will share a very interesting point with you. If you look at, the destiny of Pakistan, if you look at the economic trends, the social, if you just look at the graph, okay, and see how they have done, how India has done. Now, if you look at it, both had taken independence almost at the same time. It's not that there was a lot of difference. I mean, it was just the same. It's just that Pakistan took their independence in the morning and Dr. Rajendra Prasad prevailed upon Prime Minister Nehru and told him that he needs to take astrological advice to find the muhurta for India to take independence. Then, with the help of Pandit Hardev Sharma Trivedi ji from Solan and Surya Narayan Vyas ji from Ujjain, they finalized, because they could not change the date much. Mountbatten had said that this is the day, now you decide this day what time. So they took midnight because that was signifying Abhijit Muhurta, Pushya Nakshatra, Sthir Lagna, Taurus for India. And Pushya Nakshatra gave the horoscope of India, the dasha of Saturn, which is Yog Karak for a Taurus Lagna chart. Correct? The Lord of the 9th and the 10th, a Trikona and a Kendra. After Saturn came Mercury, again a very good dasha. So it gave a very powerful start. 19 years of Saturn, 17 years of Mercury, a very powerful start to the independent India's chart. And the reality is, and this has not been much talked about. And I sometimes wonder, you will find this in a book written by a very famous book written by the journalist Durga Das from India, from Curzon to Nehru and after. This whole incident, how Dr. Rajendra Prasad went and took this particular muhurt is mentioned in that book. It was also mentioned by Sir Woodrow White. Sir Woodrow White also writes about it in his book, The Confessions of an Optimist, and gives this whole thing why Pakistan, they did not have an astrological basis to their independence and India did. And look at the difference between the two. This is what astrology does. So anyone who has any misgivings can sort of give them up. I meet a lot of people, they say, I don't believe in astrology. Well, you can't say you don't believe in geometry. It's right there. Walk into it, learn the formulas, and you will know that it works. So it's not like one easy thing. You walk into it, you learn the formulas, you learn the things, and it'll work. So it's not like one belief system. It's a lot of calculation.
Do you take the horoscope of India from the start point of midnight, the independence, the stroke of independence? Is that the start point for India's horoscope?
Very interesting. See, Varaha Mihir gives Capricorn as the Lagna for India when India was one, so that included the areas of Pakistan, Bangladesh. So Akhand Bharat ka jo horoscope hai, Akhand Bharat ki jo chart hai, wo Capricorn Lagna ki chart hai. But अब उसका विभाजन क्योंकि बार बार हुआ, तो आखिरी जो विभाजन है वो हम देखते हैं as a midnight and therefore 15th August. So that's the time that we take and that's the time we make this chart, and that is the Taurus Lagna chart, and I've given you the astrological reasoning behind it and the two scholar astrologers who were behind this and how Dr. Rajendra Prasad strived to get it done. Krishna Hati Singh, younger sister of Pandit Nehru, there is a book by her, Letters by Nehru to his sister. It was first published by Faber and Faber in London. Now, there is a letter written after the 20th of August 1944 when Rajiv Gandhi was born. Pandit Nehru writes a letter to his younger sister saying that, please cast, I'm in jail. He's in jail at that point in time. He writes a letter to Krishna Hati Singh and says, Indira has delivered a baby boy. We need to cast his horoscope, get it done from this astrologer. And that has been published. And you can find that in this book. The letters have been collated by Jawaharlal Nehru's real sister.
Okay. So also the whole thing about foreign forces attacking Indian economy successfully over the years, does this show in India's horoscope?
See, I will talk of, this decade, this current trend that is happening now. I have said it many times that by the time 2030 comes, India will be a superpower. Why do I say this? Saturn is in Aquarius. And if you look at the horoscope of India, the Sarvashtak Varga Bindus are very good in Aquarius. They are even good in Pisces. And they are very good in Aries as well. So 2.5 years, 2.5, 2.5. So we are looking at a 7-year period. Clearly a 7-year period till the time Saturn will enter into Taurus in 2030. So in this period, India's economy will rise. Why? Because Saturn is also the 10th lord for Taurus Lagna. Saturn is the 10th lord. And it is going to transit over Sarvashtak Bindus, which are in a rising graph. So here, India's economy is definitely going to take an upswing. I said it previously in some other videos as well, that manufacturing and production, which was the forte of China, India will take control of it. The West will come down and the East will rise. This is the clear writing on the wall for this decade. Clear writing on the wall. So UK, US economies are any which ways coming down. I have said it many times. So this decade definitely sees India's economy rising. There are no two ways about it. But yes, now for the next couple of years, there are some hiccups and I don't deny that. There are some hiccups, but definitely it will just move. It will surge forward even after the hiccups. So that is going to be there.
Wow. Sounds very promising and we all are looking forward to it. To conclude PM Modi's horoscope, you've already given a prediction that he is going to win again. Somewhere I feel that the kind of person he is, like I have noticed that unlike other prime ministers, especially Donald Trump, who was very brazen with the media and, would really retort very quickly, I see this streak of strong silence that Modi ji maintains, to all, jo ninda hoti hai, to all, whatever is thrown to him, all the negativity, he just maintains silence, which is so difficult for anybody to do. And this is, I feel, a mark of somebody who is internally very, very probably spiritual. And there are, I've heard first-hand encounters of people tell me that during the Navratras, he keeps a 9-day fast where he's only on water and still working for 23 hours, which is practically impossible for anybody. And I have heard some miracles also, which probably I need not share because there are non-believers, so it's okay. But those miracles are like next to a saint almost, I can say. So I've heard these other, the kind of miracles I've heard that happens to his body is similar to Satya Sai Baba, if I can say it. But I wouldn't want to get into the details of it because there are non-believers also. And this video is not really a supporting Modi kind of a video. It's just analysis of what does it take to become a prime minister, or rather what has it taken in PM Modi's chart for him to become a prime minister. So why do I feel that at the end of his career as a PM, he is somebody who's just going to go back to the hills? I get this very strong feeling. Does it anywhere indicate in his horoscope?
See, there are some things that I would like to reserve. I can't say. So I'm answering, there are 2-3 points that you've said, so I'm answering it backwards.
Astrologically, maybe because Ketu is somewhere, I think, in the 11th house with Budh. I think, I don't know, it kind of tells me that he's going to cut himself away from wealth and communication.
See, I don't think it is about going back to the mountains or to the hills. There is going to be a lot that happens before that. When Saturn, and I've said this, Saturn is going to enter Jupiter's nakshatra in Aquarius. But when Saturn enters the last 3 degree 20 minutes of Purva Bhadrapad in Pisces, that is showing that is showing some change. We can discuss it at a later date, but it's definitely not cutting off communication and going somewhere. That's not going to be there. This is a chart of an extremely disciplined man who's very harsh on himself. He's so harsh on himself that it will border, to a normal person, you will say that this is almost self-torture, but to this man, it is discipline. He will work those many hours, he will really, really slog. That combination is coming, that combination of putting yourself through a lot of hardship because of the fact that you are absolutely disciplined, that comes from this Mars combination in Lagna, and this Mars is also affecting Moon. So he is definitely hard on himself, very, very harsh and hard on himself. It requires a lot of rigor to be harsh on yourself, and it is a chart of a very disciplined man. And I said, because of these 2 planets in Sarpad Reshkon, for yogic kriyas, which can be clearly seen from this chart, and therefore, remember, whenever Mars aspects Lagna, such people have a lot of energy. And here Mars is the Lagna Lord himself in the Lagna. So such people, despite aging, they still retain that energy. People will stoop, people will lack the drive, when they reach this age, but that will not be the case with him because of Mars in Lagna. Because of Mars in Lagna. So there are changes that are coming about, and let me also say, this chart shows deep mental affliction. With Jupiter in a Kendra to that moon, it has been positively aligned. So I would say that about this chart.
That was a wonderful, insightful session. Maneeza ji, thank you so much for being on my channel and enlightening us about PM Modi's horoscope and the brilliant predictions that you have made for India. I think all Indians are going to be really looking forward to it.